It is mailbag time on Unafraid Show. And this is when you guys get a chance to send in all the stuff that you guys want to talk about to a bunch of ways. You can send it in to at George Wrighster, at Unafraid Show, or just shoot us an email. IMMAD at unafraidshow.com, and you guys will get your stuff here on the show. So you guys make sure that you guys do that. But we got a lot to talk about in the world of college football today. We are going to answer your questions. And of course, this upcoming week, we have major games that we are excited about, but we will get into it. But make sure that you guys like, subscribe, share, tell a friend about it because you do not want to miss these questions today. And if you got a college football friend, they need to know this too. So, first question up in the mailbag. Is something wrong with Georgia, or do all Kirby Smart teams just start out slow? Now, this team was down, and what they're referring to is their 13-12 victory over Kentucky this week. And it was like, oh, is Georgia now vulnerable? And yes, they proved to be vulnerable because they lost to Alabama in the SEC championship. Now, this Georgia team no longer looks unbeatable. Like, this is not the team from 2 years ago, from 3 years ago, back to back national championships. Now, they are still an elite football team. However, they can be beat. And if we go back, a year ago, they were down 14-3 at the half at versus South Carolina last year, and then tied at 20-20 with a couple minutes left at Auburn last year, and then down with 5 minutes to go at Missouri 2 years ago. Now, this Kentucky team has held Georgia to two touchdowns, not one, but two touchdowns in the last 8 quarters. That's two games. And Kentucky lost both games. Now, I made a video and talked about this where Mark Stoops, Kentucky head coach, he lost this game for them. On that fourth down, when they had the ball in their own territory, that was a mistake. Well, when they had the ball in Georgia territory, that was a mistake, a huge mistake that he made by not going for it right there. It's 3 minutes to go. You got Georgia on the ropes. No risk it, no biscuit, baby. You want to knock out the champ. You got to throw a haymaker every now and then. You got to put yourself at risk. Now, because there are sometimes that your defense carries you, and sometimes your offense carries you. And Kirby Smart's teams never really seem to have both units, in sync right now. And Carson Beck's a good quarterback, but this offense doesn't feel as explosive as it was with guys like Darnell Washington and Bowers at tight end as it does now. All right, next question up. Wake Forest. Wake Forest lost to Ole Miss and then immediately paid $1.6 million to cancel next year's game. What are your thoughts? All right. So this is very interesting to me. And I talked about this on the live on Sunday, is that I believe that there's something bigger at play here. Now, the first thing is that Dave Clawson, the Wake Forest's head coach, has had one team ranked in the last 11 seasons as a head coach. But I doubt that Clawson is scared of Ole Miss. I don't think that that's it, because he came into that game 4-0 against the SEC since he's been the head coach. Now, canceling the game immediately after you get beat 40-3, it's a bad look. But there has to be a reason behind that's beyond the ass kicking that they took on Saturday. And I believe that that is about the ACC, because we've already seen the Pac-12 pick up teams in the Mountain West: Colorado State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and Boise State as well, in addition to Washington State and Oregon State already there. And the Pac-12 needs two more teams to backfill. I knew something was up when the Pac 12 didn't renew their scheduling agreement with the Mountain West. So, and then a week later, we find out, And then we get people like Pete Thamel tweeting out that Memphis is a potential target of the Pac 12. Duh, obviously, they wanted to go to the Big 12. But for them to maintain, the Pac 12 to maintain Power 5 legitimacy, They got to get more than those two Power Five teams in Washington and Washington State. So where do you find those teams at? Well, we know that Clemson, Florida State, Virginia, all these people are trying to get out of the ACC. So now the Pac 12 is clearly doing secretive work right now. They're not putting it out in the public, they making moves. So if Wake Forest canceled this game, why could that be? Could this be that they understand that there's an ACC breakup and then you're going to have teams like Wake Forest be left out? Because Wake Forest is not going to get or likely to get an invite over to the Big Ten or the SEC. And you're going to have other teams in that same vein. So they could be looking for a lifeboat already. And if the Pac 12 can add another four former Power Five schools, now you might be able to get one of those automatic bids when it comes to the college football playoff. You see that? Bingo. And so that's going to be an interesting thing in itself. Now, that's conspiracy theory stuff, but it makes a lot of sense over here. Next question. Is Michigan making the right decision to bench Davis Warren and start Alex Orji when it's clear that he has serious accuracy issues? No. The issue is that Davis Warren, former walk-on, is not a bad quarterback. The issue, I mean, in the last game, he was 11 for 14. The problem is that those three went to the other team. And in 3 games this season, I think he has 6 picks. So quarterback coaches, head coaches, everybody, they are never going to be fond of quarterbacks that throw the ball to the other team. And Davis Warren was doing that way too much. And Alex Orji, much better athlete, but they're not going to be able to throw the ball on the same level. And there could be something to the fact that you got a high floor, low ceiling quarterback, but he can't connect with receivers. Because I didn't necessarily love J.J. McCarthy, but here's the truth. If a throw needed to be made, he could do it. Now, there were times where he didn't, but he could do it. And you could pretty much rely on him to be able to do it. And now when I see what Michigan is working with at quarterback, I was underestimating how good J.J. McCarthy was, at least as a college football quarterback, because we don't know in the NFL yet. Because there's a lot of guys right now, like Jalen Milroe, Sam Levitt over at Arizona State, KJ Jefferson, Thomas Castellanos. Like, those are guys that give you a chance to win because they're dynamic. They're dynamic with the ball in their hands. They can extend plays. People break open and all of that. But at the end of the day, when you are the quarterback, your job is to make the throw. And if you cannot make the throw, there is a problem. And you guys can always send your comments in here on the live stream, and we will get to them per the usual. Um, So I'm not sure about this Alex Orji thing, but I do know, and I've said it all along, that Michigan has quarterback issues. This is why I did not love this team in the preseason. And if you cannot be confident in your quarterback spot, you're going to have problems throughout the entire year. All right, question number 4. You covered Cal and Washington State for a long time. Obviously, you're talking about in the Pac 12. Are either of these teams for real? Because they're both undefeated right now. Cal has already beat Auburn, and they've already beat a Big 12 team as well, and UC Davis. So it's like, are either one of these teams for real? And Cal plays Florida State this week. If they go to 4-0, that will be very interesting because you're like, hold up, what about that Pac 12 that was overrated and soft? Well, they're going out and beating other teams right now. And Cal is now in the ACC. And if they knock out Florida State, as bad as Florida State has looked, I'm sitting here looking like, okay, this is a team that is going to then say and believe. Because remember, a lot of teams playing well is about confidence. And if Cal beats Florida State at Florida State, their confidence is going to skyrocket. Skyrocket. And for Washington State, I do believe that this is a good football team. But the issue with Washington State is going to be their schedule. Like that's always going to be the gotcha for them because they're playing a Mountain West schedule. And when you look at the Mountain West schedule, it is not going to get the same love and adulation as you're going to get because Washington State has beat a Big Ten team in Washington, a Big 12 team in Texas Tech, and they beat Portland State. And for the rest of the year, all they have is the Mountain West schools. So they're going to need to depend on Boise State to continue winning, but then that'll be Boise State's second loss if they win. They're going to need Oregon State to keep winning as well. So that is something to pay attention to. But now on the other front that we talked about with Cal, they're playing an ACC schedule. And if you're playing an ACC schedule, it is always going to be looked upon more favorably by the voters and everybody else. So I think that that's the difference between Cal and Florida State because Cal's played Auburn, San Diego State, UC Davis, and then they got Florida State this week. And then if they come out and beat Miami in 2 weeks, there's nothing that you're going to be able to say. Nothing. And beating Florida State will give them that confidence. So that is a game to monitor. And if Florida State loses that game, Lord help Mike Norvell. And that leads us to the fifth question here on the Unafraid Show Mailbag. Mike Norvell at Florida State, obviously, won 19 games in a row before losing the last four. Talking about the bowl game and then the 3 this year. How much grace should Florida State fans have before they start calling for a change? More than one damn year? Florida State fans are calling for Mike Norvell's job. Do you realize how insane that is? How are you calling for a guy's job who literally just went 13-0 in the regular season last year and you felt you got snubbed out of the playoffs? And then he brings in more transfers, loses a lot of guys to the NFL draft. And now we're like, oh, he can't coach now. He sucks. Fire him. Who are you going to get to replace him that you can guarantee will do a better job? Who? I always say there are 2 rules to firing a coach. Number 1, after every single season, every coach needs to be reevaluated. Every coach, whether you won a national championship or you went defeated, you went 0-12. Every coach. And 2 questions need to be asked. Number 1, is there a guy that we can get in, guy, person, however you want to phrase it? Is there a person that you can put in this job that will guarantee do a better job than him? That will take the job now. Because you might be like, oh, let's go get Sark. Let's go get Nick Saban out of retirement. Those aren't realistic options. So is there somebody that you can bring in that will guarantee do a better job? That's iffy right now. Okay. And then the second question is there a loss of hope? Can Mike Norvell still go into 17, 18-year-old households or players in the transfer portal and sell them on the fact that the future is greater than the past? Those are the 2 questions that you have to ask. And the second one is yes. And if you can't answer both of those questions in the affirmative, then yes, you need to fire your coach. So at this point in time, no, Mike Norvell does not need to be fired. There's no reason to be calling for his job. But is there a reason to be frustrated and disappointed in how this season has gone? Yes. Must he put up a better season next year? 100%. But this is also one of the problems with the transfer portal is that you can bring good players into the portal, but you don't always know what they were coached to do on film, what their strong suits and weaknesses are in terms of schematics and what the other teams do and everything. And then you're not 100% sure that they're going to fit your culture. Because especially when taking 1-year transfers, they don't always pan out in the same. Like, it takes a while to master a system. So if Mike Norvell next year is not at least 10-2, now we got to start eyeballing. If this is an 8-4 team next year, now we got to be like, like where are we at here? Because this is a results-based business. Number 6, Nebraska, Michigan State, Illinois, and Indiana are all 3-0. Predict the order that these teams will finish. Wow. This is a tough one because Michigan State is getting better. This is a team that new head coach Jonathan Smith, new quarterback in Aiden Childs, and then you got Nebraska, Matt Rule, Dylan Raiola. They're trying to figure it out. And then you got Illinois. And Illinois is a team that has leaned on its defense for the majority of the time, that they have been, that they have had their new coach, Brett Bielema, who, Brett, you can text me. You don't have to be upset with me anymore, man. Let's talk about this. That's a whole nother story. And when you look at this team, they've played Kansas, which they beat 23-17, and Kansas did not look real good this last week. They've beaten Central Michigan, and they beat somebody, EIU. Who is that? Oh, Eastern Illinois. And this Illinois team has not put up a ton of points. And Luke Altmaier, former Penn State kid, or either Penn State or Ole Miss kid, he's their quarterback now, so he's giving them an opportunity to win. But what order that I believe that they will finish? I will say Nebraska will finish the highest in the Big Ten. Then I will go with Indiana, then Illinois, and then Michigan State. Now, the Illinois and Michigan State is going to be, the ones are going to be closer, but Indiana, who just beat up on UCLA this weekend, Lord have mercy. I'm actually excited about this Indiana team because they can score points. And when you put up points, you are going to have an opportunity to be special. And but their schedule has been super light. They had FIU, and then they had Western Illinois, and then they had UCLA. And UCLA doesn't look particularly good right now. All right, seventh question up. Did you see the Notre Dame score? Should Marcus Freeman set up a call with Thomas Hammock from NIU before every game? Nah. He don't need one before every game, but whatever that they did on that phone call was a good move. But I do still have questions about this Florida State offense. I'm sorry, about this Notre Dame offense. Yes, they beat Purdue 66-7. We were already confident about Notre Dame's defense. We felt really good about it. Texas A&M game, even in the NIU game, we still felt really good about this defense. The issue has continuously been Notre Dame's offense and Riley Leonard and how they're being able to do it at quarterback. And in this Purdue game, he went 11 for 16 for 111 yards. And then and Gailey, who came in as well, 6 for 9 for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they finally thrown touchdown passes. And they passed for 216 yards, but they ran for 364 and 6 touchdowns. Now, Notre Dame is going to have to lean on this run game because their passing game is not going to be elite. It's just not this year. And this is one of those years where it is going to be defense. Don't turn over the football because that's what they're going to be preaching to Riley Leonard. Do not turn over the football the way you give us a chance to win. And this week, Notre Dame gets Miami of Ohio, which they cannot in any way, shape, form, or fashion go to sleep on. They cannot because they've already lost to NIU. And maybe that was a wake-up call for them because I've been on teams and seen teams where people thought, oh, man, we could just throw our jerseys out on the field and win. You can't just throw your jerseys out on the field and win. And that's what Notre Dame did. And they better be on alert for Miami of Ohio because they're going to be ready when the Louisville game the following week. All right, next question up. What coaches have emerged as hot Power 5 coaching candidates early in the season? I got 3 names for you. 3. And one of them is Ryan Silverfield over at Memphis. He's doing a good job over there. His quarterback, Seth Hennigan, he's developing. He's a builder. And when Mike Norvell left, that program didn't fall down. They took a little hit and now they're building back up again. And a lot of that has to go with the organizational structure and leadership at the top with Ryan Silverfield. So he deserves a lot of credit. I'm excited about this Memphis team and where they're going. So he's definitely going to be a hot name. Another name, Texas State's head coach, GJ Kinney. What he's doing at Texas State is really good. And if you look at Texas State's roster and you look at their size, he's playing with a lot of undersized players, small wide receivers, 5'7", 5'8", 5'9". They're hella athletes. They're doing a wonderful job after the ball. But come on, man. He's the guy that you're looking at and you're saying, oh, man, imagine if we give him 4 or 5-star recruits. What can he do? Now, granted, there's a step up in competition that you're going to face week in and week out, but he's a guy that you need to watch. And this next guy that I'm going to name, if he does not have a head coaching job this year, and let's say that my Oregon Ducks, that Will Stein ends up as a head coach, their offensive coordinator, we better be going out and going to go get UNLV offensive coordinator Brennan Marion. That's who we better be going to go get. If you have a team that has an offensive struggle, go get him. This man literally invented an entire offense called the go-go offense. You know who was running it? Yes. NFL offensive coordinators are running parts of the go-go offense. Other colleges are running the go-go offense because Brennan Marion has figured something out. And yes, they are studying it, but there's a difference in the master. He's the master of this offense. And then when you add in what he learned from Sark when he was the wide receiver coach and pass game coordinator at Texas, after he left Pitt, now he's at UNLV for a second season. Book it, watch it. That's a guy that you need to pay attention to. And both of those guys in Texas State's head coach and UNLV's offensive coordinator, they both played for Todd Graham at Tulsa, even though they weren't teammates. Just saying. Todd Graham got a lot going on his coaching tree. I'm just saying. Number 9, Memphis reporter Jonah Dillon reported that the Tigers head coach Ryan Silverfield said he thinks that there will be mid-season transactions in college football in a couple years. Meaning you could put somebody on IR and get somebody from the portal in the middle of the season. What are your thoughts? Damn. As much change as we've seen in college football at this point in time, I would not put that past it. There is one major issue with this, and that is school. Because these players go to school, and transferring mid-year from college to college, it ain't quite that simple. And remember, there's an admissions process that, like, there are things that are outside of the athletic purview that you're going to have to navigate. So while Ryan Silverfield, who I just named as one of the hot head coaching names, while he thinks that that'll happen, I think that we are further away from that because we got the school aspect that has to be remedied, because this is something that we honestly haven't even been able to figure out in college football. Because let's say you have, like last year, when you had Kalen DeBoer leave Washington. He left Washington so late that school already had started. So it made it very difficult for players to transfer into Alabama from Washington. So school is always a problem and an issue that has to be navigated. All right, number 10. Um, Former Navy head coach Ken Niumatalolo. He took over for Brent Brennan over at San Jose State, and he currently has the leading receiver in the country in Nick Nash. Did Khalil Tate mess up when he tweeted that he didn't go to Arizona to run the triple option? Yes. And Arizona made a huge mistake there. So now to take you guys back to where you fully understand what's going on. So when Arizona was looking for new head coaches, after they fired Kevin Sumlin, one of the people that they were looking at was Ken Niumatalolo, and he was at Navy. And Khalil Tate was Arizona's quarterback at the time. He was an athletic guy, didn't want to be labeled as a runner or anything like that, and he thought that he was going to come in and run the triple option. Now they offered the job to him, but then 2 days after Khalil Tate's tweet, the job was then offered to Kevin Sumlin. So excuse me. This was prior to Kevin Sumlin. So Kevin Sumlin actually ended up getting a job. And then Tate ended up splitting reps with Grant Gunnell. And then Arizona only won 10 games over the next 4 years. Well, maybe Ken is just a coach where he was at a service academy where he likely ran that offense because it's the best option at service academies. That's why they all run it. That's why Air Force runs some version of it. Navy and Army, because their linemen are not as big as they are at other FBS schools. So they can't block it the same way. And their quarterbacks are too busy being servicemen and women and doing school because school is harder, or at least as hard as Ivy League schools. And San Jose State is averaging 314 passing yards a game. So Coach Ken, he is going to be on the short list of guys who gets head coaching opportunities because he has shown that he can adapt. That it's not just I run the triple option. No, it's like, listen, I want to play football. I'm going to design an offense that is going to win. All right, 2 bonus questions today. Number 1, Shedeur Sanders refused to shake Braden Fowler Nicolosi's hand after the Buffs beat CSU in Colorado State. Shedeur left the field early during the Nebraska loss. Will his level of emotion help or hinder him in a 17-game NFL season, or will he have to mellow out like Baker Mayfield did? Number 1, I think that Shedeur's biggest adjustment to going to the NFL, number 1, is going to be not going to go play for his dad. He's never not played for his dad. And that means that conversations that happen about stuff you like, don't like, they're going to be heard differently with your dad, who's the head coach. Even though your dad may be a football guy and stuff, it's different. Like, you're still his kid and you're still his son. So when he go off on you or something, he's going to try to repair it a different way than a different coach is going to do. And so I don't mind Shedeur not shaking Brandon Fowler Nicolosi's hand. He talked all that trash all week, bashing him, bashing his dad, bashing Colorado. Don't come shaking out my hand now, fam. Not mad at it. But him leaving the field early during the Nebraska loss, I didn't like it. Now, I don't know whether he went to go get x-rays or whatever else. Deion said that he went to go get treatment so they could all leave on time and everything else. And I'm like, I don't love it. Unless you are actually hurt, which we don't know for sure, I don't love it because it's just a bad look, especially when so many eyes are on you like Shedeur Sanders is, and people are going to take things the wrong way. They are going to make something out of nothing. So, yes, I don't love that, but he's going to be fine in the NFL. He actually has the type of temperament that you need in the NFL. Like, he doesn't go crazy on the field. He's a pretty mellow, seems pretty even keel. So, I don't think he'll have to mellow out like Baker Mayfield because he doesn't appear as emotional as Baker Mayfield did in college. So, yep. And the last question. Arch Manning played in the UTS game. Let's start over. Arch Manning played in the UTSA game against. Oh, why did they read the question like? Anyways, Arch Manning played in the UTS game for Texas, and he absolutely balled out. Do you believe that if Quinn Ewers misses a game or two, that Arch will be the new starting quarterback? Wow. The answer to that is yes. Yes. It is going to be extremely difficult extremely difficult for Sark to pull Arch Manning out. If Quinn Ewers misses 2 games, a game or two with this injury, because Arch Manning looked like the best player on the field against UTSA. He's way more athletic than Peyton. You're like, who is this white boy running? Manning. They don't run. But yeah, this one does. He took after Cooper. And then they play upcoming. They play. I know they play Mississippi State in 2 weeks, but this upcoming week they have a little bit lighter of a game. And yeah, so they play Louisiana Monroe this week, and then they play Mississippi State. Then they get 2 weeks off before they go play the Red River rivalry against Oklahoma. And if Arch balls out and is the best player on the field against LMU, ULM, and Mississippi State because Ewers is out, yes, he's going to start him versus Oklahoma. And not because Arch is necessarily better, but if Ewers was out for a while, and Ewers has done a fantastic job this season, and I have seen this happen. It happened to Joey Harrington and AJ Feely when I was at Oregon, and AJ Feely still went to the NFL and had a long career. He got drafted as well, and Joey was the starter. It's unfortunate. Yes, you can lose your job to injury. I know people don't want to hear it, like it, but you can absolutely lose your job to injury. It sucks, but that's the reality of the situation. Um. All right. So, I missed the thing. Somebody said turn my volume up, but it's too late for that. We are on the end of the Unafraid Show. Missed your questions. Oh man! But you guys make sure you guys send them in. I'm Matt, IMMAD at Unafraid Show. Peace out. Catch you guys later.